You can view the video of this podcast on Jazz Cabbage's YouTube or Facebook pages.
Hey, we are on our way to technological advances that you can't even dream of yet. The Trumpian way. So, hey, Josey joins us right off the bat, but this is Jazz Cabbage Café. We're going to do a lot of stuff today, and one of the reasons, of course, it would be okay anyway, but one of the reasons that Josey's joining us early on is because she's got some other stuff to do this afternoon, but she wanted to make sure she had an opportunity to come in here and talk about some very cool shit. But who do we have here joining us right now, Rick? It's your job to let everybody know.
Well, we're currently online for all of our viewers on YouTube and all of our listeners on Spotify, Pandora, Alexa, and all the streaming platforms. We have Debra Young with us, Colin MacDougall, Jim Salame, our regular crew. I'm Rick Thompson. You heard Jamie a little earlier, and we are joined currently by the wonderful Josey Scoggin.
And I can see you now, Jim. I can see you loud and clear.
So I want to, by request of Christine Landino, and to give a memorial to a guy named Greg Pisaki, who 11 years ago passed away. And he started the Oakland County Normal Chapter. He worked really hard and was instrumental in the 2008 Prop 1 Michigan Medical Marijuana Act effort. And a lot of people from Normal, from the old days, want to remember him and his contributions and ask that we bring it up today. And so I think that's fitting. And I remember Greg Pisaki. I was never buddies with him or anything like that, but I certainly remember him. The fact that 11 years has gone by now was pretty startling, but I'm happy that people want to recall his great contributions to this effort. The stuff he did at the time that he did was huge.
In Michigan Normal, we have several awards we give out each year, and one of them is the Greg Pisaki Award. So we've honored them every year with that award. It's a little foundation that we give.
So. Very cool.
And so before we talk to Josey here in a second, we're going to today in a little bit talk about the fact that New York legalized and what is involved in that effort. And we're going to be joined by Danko, editor of Northeast Leaf magazine, formerly cultivation editor at High Times, and resident of New York. So I thought it would be fitting we can hear what he's up to and what's going on. He's involved in a lot of great projects and great podcasts and stuff like that, but we can also get word from somebody who really cares about this stuff and who is right there. And I think that would be pretty cool. And then the cannabis, Pro-Cannabis Media, is that Jimmy Young?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be joining us, and he broadcasts the virtual hash bash and is going to continue that and watched it. And we're going to get his thoughts on that as we move into the discussion about hash bash weekend and kind of recapping what went down in the Diag in the studio, otherwise, whatever. But to start off, well, I'll tell you what, we normally spin it around, but I kind of wanted to offer some time for Josey.
Right, she's got a limited
because she just came on, and so I don't want to disregard anybody, but we'll get to that. Let's put it that way. We'll still do it, but let's just
see, we're flexible.
Jose.
Thanks everybody for being here. But and Josey does a lot of great stuff. Sons and Daughters United, a lot of people are familiar with, and most recently she joined forces with our good friend Ryan Basore and Redemption Canna to create a project designed around utilizing new expungement laws and to help team up people who are eligible with lawyers and to help with the processes and all the paperwork and to get people's records expunged so they can improve the quality of their lives and get jobs and loans and all the other things that people get denied for. So that has turned itself into its own entity and a life of its own. And to explain that, what is now known as Great Lakes Expungement Network, joining us is Josey Scoggin. How you doing, Josey, first of all?
Thanks for having me on, you guys. I'm so excited to be here. Also, last time I was here, Debra wasn't on, so I didn't get to comment on her wonderful background. I do want to spend some of my time doing that.
It is the masterpiece.
You don't have to
of
do
the
that.
Oh
show.
my gosh, I can't even believe this. I forgot. Josey specifically requested at least 4 to 7 minutes of just pure coddling and compliments and praising her.
Ryan,
Package praise from Josey.
You
was
notice
awesome.
I have to.
Yeah,
I
I'm
have to
sorry,
block
Josey.
Rick
I mean, you're so
package.
awesome, and everybody knows that you usually don't even need any of that. But since you requested it, I'll bring it back, and we can
I was
use
on
that to
Ryan's
spin it around.
podcast, last week, and he spent like a solid 2 minutes telling people how awesome I was. So I didn't know if he was done talking about me or not.
He does do that for people on Ryan's show. He does a good job in the intro of kind of giving everybody a nice little praise and what his connection is and that type of stuff. So, and I'm sure his had to take a while since it was you.
What we're doing at Glen at the Great Lakes Expungement Network is it started off as just something that we were going to do at Sons and Daughters United with Ryan at Redemption. We were going to do the onboarding and he was going to do the funding. And what we found was that there's lots of our friends in the cannabis community that do believe in the second or third or fourth chances. And more than that, marijuana expungements just became a lot easier last week. On Thursday, the governor released, or the attorney general released some new forms, which have streamlined the process. And before, you would have to get fingerprinted for just basic misdemeanor marijuana crimes. Now you don't. So if it's certain things, like if it's a felony, or if it was never pled down to a marijuana crime and it was left at like dangerous drugs, or even more than that, if you have something that was once a marijuana crime, but you pled to like disturbing the peace, you will still need to be fingerprinted for that, and we will pay for it. So we're paying for your attorney fees, your fingerprint fees, and we're paying for your certified records fee. You will receive a retainer just like you would if you were to go hire somebody for $2,500. This is a fee-free service. What I mean by that is we don't require any fees to participate, and we will cover all of the funding. We do have a lot of partners in this. So we do have the Cannabis Legal Group in Barton Morris doing all of our Metro Detroit area stuff at this time. We're hopeful that we will get some more of our attorney friends on board in that area. We also have our friends at Duncan Law and Southwest Legal Counsel down here in southwestern Michigan and Berrien County and in Cass County. They are non-industry attorneys, okay? So they're just criminal defense attorneys that are really in it for Michigan and for Michiganders. And I also want to point out just real quickly that this is not limited to people that live in Michigan. This is for anybody who caught a charge here. So if your cousin was visiting out of state and he caught a possession of marijuana charge, let's get it expunged. A little bit more than that is we will be expunging anything that's expungible. However, because it's funded by cannabis companies and it does fit into a lot of people's social equity plans, we will be requiring that you have at least one eligible cannabis offense. And
Hi, Cadence.
part of the show, right? Sorry, we're on spring break. I forgot all about it. And so if you can visit us on sonsanddaughtersunited.org/expungement, we can get you all signed up. It takes no time to do it. Also, we're available on Facebook. I know that some of my friends have birthdays coming up. And so if you want to select Sons and Daughters United as one of your charities to raise money for, it will go back, to the Great Lakes Expungement Network. Jamie Lowell is also on there. I'm surprised that he is our treasurer. We're filing with the for our 501c3 at this point, and we're just kind of waiting for that stuff to happen. And then of course, Covert Law Firm has been I think a friend to everybody in the cannabis community. Everybody has a good story about Josh. And he has definitely housed Sons and Daughters United and the Redemption Foundation in his building since launching on his own in 2017. He is taking on a good portion of the expungements, and he also has that theory, which is if it needs to be done, he'll get it done. And so I think we're really lucky to be in a spot where we are, where we have two fantastic people in the legislature, but also with Dana Nessel and with Gretchen Whitmer passing these clean slate bills, it's easier than ever to expunge your record. And I know that I'm talking a lot, but just one more thing is only about 6.5% of Michiganders here actually go through with expunging their record within 5 years of being eligible. Now, some of that is them not knowing their eligibility, but a lot of it is the complexity of the whole issue and the amount of money that's involved. So visit us on Facebook, get a hold of us on sonsanddaughtersunited.org. You could contact me or Ryan or Josh, and we're all here and happy to talk about it. We are looking for some founding partners.
Josey, do you specifically not want anybody to contact me?
Yeah, specifically do not contact Jamie.
Good.
He's the treasurer, so he's not trustworthy, I guess.
Contact any of us. We're all really happy about this, and it's a program that's not only worth participating in and donating to, but it's a program that's worth watching grow, because just over the last couple of weeks we've been able to welcome some new people to our team, and we've been growing really fast. And so I'm really excited to come back here next year and tell you how many expungements we did, and maybe we'll be able to celebrate together.
There's so many people doing good.
That's awesome. You know, we've talked on here before about how awesome that package of expungement bills from last session was, but how like cannabis kind of got the short end of the stick. But I brought that up to you before, and you're aware of like some of the issues that we have and what we talk about. But Deb's acting weird. I'm not sure what's going on over there. But you're aware of some of the issues that we're talking about and stuff like that. But you are still so positive about this and what tools there are now available to really help a lot of people out. And I appreciate that attitude. It's one of the reasons I really want to help out with this and work with you guys, because I know you're so genuine about it.
So marijuana expungement does affect about 240,000 people here in the state of Michigan. You know, I'm a Lake Effect child. I'm from Benton Harbor, represent. So I love Michigan. You know, I have a true pride that I live here. My friends grow the best weed. We have more coastline than any other state. But more than that, we have a cannabis community that other states really lack, something where everyone is connected and they're all very friendly. And I think that this Canna family thing is something we all share. And if you qualify for social equity, you qualify for a program. And Brisboe says that you will still qualify for social equity even if you get these things expunged. So come to us, let's get that stuff off your record so you can go to your kid's school dance. And then also, let's help your friends. You know, I think that this is something that I do have some friends that have really crazy stories. I mean, they're all white guys, so they've got like 3 7411s in 3 different counties. But most of my friends aren't that lucky. And having a simple marijuana possession can prevent you from doing things that you've always dreamed of. And more than that, a lot of these Reagan era drug war crimes that my boomer friends have didn't come off their records. So I think people falsely believe that like after 7 years, certain things just fall off. And that's true for some things, I suppose, but it's not true for everything. So get a hold of us, we'll run your record, we'll see if we can do it for you.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's really cool. And just reiterate something that you said a minute ago. There were, and we've had this discussion, I think, on the in another meeting with the Michigan Cannabis Freedom Coalition, about some people who had an opportunity, who have an opportunity to expunge their record, but also because of their record, qualify for certain social equity benefits of some kind or whatever, thought that maybe I shouldn't get this expunged, or otherwise I'm going to lose my eligibility to get the licensing fee waived or reduced or whatever the circumstances are. But we have found out, and Andrew Brisboe has confirmed, that you are still eligible even if you get the stuff taken off your record.
You can eat your cake, have your cake and eat it too. It's so cool.
Awesome.
And it makes sense because it doesn't really change what happened during that Prohibition era, right? And something to note is that when we're asked, we're looking at social equity, and by the way, I have seen a lot of your guys' social equity plans. not really great. They don't undo the harms of prohibition, right? So the issue is that we have this really weird phrasing, and what they're asking you to do is create a plan that undoes the harms of prohibition. And this is both obvious and literal. So it's a program that fits fantastic, maybe as a substitute to your social equity plan. So I'm mostly gearing this towards people who I've looked at them and they're like going to donate money to the food bank in their town or their senior center.
Or I'm going to sell the best weed possible so that the people get the best benefit. That's my social equity plan. I mean, some of them are that basic and that rudimentary. It's terrible.
That has been my long time joke, is the hardest thing about legalization is having to smoke all my friends' crappy weed. Because everyone can grow weed now. And everything got so much better this year when they all had to stay home and really learn the ropes. And so I think that also that stuff when you're going and paying $20 for a gram of weed and it doesn't taste like anything and it smells like their daddy bought their license, and you have these people who aren't experienced in the cannabis industry that are coming in from all these other industries and aren't taking the time. Also, they were barred, I think, from hiring people with experience in the industry, right? So they couldn't hire caregivers, they had to relinquish their caregiving license, or they couldn't hire people on the medical side who had criminal records. So let's get that stuff expunged, because not everywhere our friends with criminal records are welcome, at least in this industry. And what I'm talking about is those medical only facilities.
You know, Josey, we've been joined by what I'd like to consider as the cannabis family's cool uncle that you go to when you have questions about life. That'd be Danko, who's been around for a while. Danny runs a wonderful podcast out east in Massachusetts, and was, of course, a longtime cultivation editor for High Times and represented them very well in many of the cannabis cups around the United States, and is still a frequent author on the subject of cannabis. Welcome, Danny.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
You shared a stage with Joe's, I think, on Hash Bash at least one year, didn't you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Josey's been out to High Times
and
a bunch of
multiple
times, too.
cannabis cups. Yeah, for sure.
I'm a huge fan of Danny Danko. We are friends for sure.
Yeah.
Jazz Cabbage Café. I mean, it's not a real cafe, but still people get together. We have a smoke together. You know, it's almost
real. It's real for some of us.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So Josey, let's wrap up a little bit about the expungement stuff, and then we're going to talk some New York stuff in Northeast Leaf with Danny. But when do we expect Glenn to be in action? Glenn meaning Great Lake Expungement Network.
Joe's, you're on mute. The youngest one makes the biggest.
You can apply for assistance right now, and we can get you hooked up and start expunging those records. We're not going to file anything until next week. The new laws go in effect on April 11th, which is a Sunday when the courts aren't open, so I don't know. We will be launching sometime next week in terms of an official press release, but go to our website, sonsanddaughtersunited.org/expungement. Just apply. I'll give you a call. Josh takes about 20 minutes to check for eligibility. We're getting this stuff done really quickly. Also, there's about 1,300 new offenses that are going to be expungible. So if you talked to somebody last year and they said your stuff wasn't expungible, it doesn't mean it's not now. And just one more shameless promotion, please give us money. Sons and Daughters United on Facebook. Let us be your birthday fundraiser or whatever necessary fundraising you want to do. Please reach out to Jamie, myself, Ryan, Josh, Barton, anyone, and we'll get you involved. We do have memberships and partnerships that we're looking for, both regionally. And these are local attorneys. Just one more thing to point out is that you'll receive a retainer agreement from a local attorney in your area. Thank you guys so much for having me, and hopefully I can come back and see the rest of the show.
So I really appreciate it, Josey. Thank you very much. And so the Botanical Company is already starting a promotional kind of and fundraiser and awareness effort at both stores, in which if people want to, they can round up their change and use that to donate, and then it's going to be get matched later on for this effort. And we're gladly partnering with this with Glenn. and really appreciate your effort. You know, and everything you do, Josey, is so honest and genuine, and for the sole purpose of helping people, that it's a no-brainer to work with you when the opportunity comes around.
I did text him that exact verbiage, so I'm really glad that he said it online. I'm really glad to work with you guys. I'm really happy to be here. I'm glad Debra's here. I don't think she was on here last time. I've always had a great time with you guys. I'm excited to see what Danny has going on in New York. So thanks again.
Thanks.
All right, hurry
Thanks,
back.
Josey.
I love it. We got a Cadence cameo in there too. That's always nice. See the little.
It's always nice when the fam drops in, you
I
know,
know, they're so
with the
cute.
puppies and the babies and everybody.
That's right.
All right, Danny Danko is here, man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm really good. Thank you.
So New York, what do you think? Huh?
I mean, we really lucked out. We got a great bill. Our governor was in trouble on multiple fronts, and I think he needed a good headline, and because of that, he caved on a number of things that we were pretty strongly pushing, including social equity, not just, you know, in word or in lip service, but in actual funding, you know, actual monies going to that, which is really important. And home grow, which is obviously very close to my heart, which was really important, as well as social consumption lounges. I mean, we really did, we got pretty much everything we wanted out of the governor, whereas, you know, it wasn't looking so hot prior to him kind of getting in trouble with the nursing home and the sexual harassment stuff. So his loss and his creepiness is our gain.
His creepiness
Right on.
is our gain.
Well, how many, if I can ask, how many plants are you allowed to home grow in New York now?
Right. So it's 6 plants per person and 12 plants per household. So if you have more than one person living in a household, it's 12 plants. And that means
Okay.
six mature plants and 6 younger plants. So
Combination, whatever.
yeah. And
Oh,
what's interesting about plant limits is the limit is on the amount of plants, but not the size of the plants. So,
right.
you know, feel free to veg them out
And
and
you
grow
can, and you
grow
can,
them big.
you can keep all your
But-
yield, because here in Michigan, you can keep your yield. Are you able to keep all the yield?
Yeah, you're allowed to keep up to 5 pounds in your home, and you're allowed to travel with up to 3 ounces of flour and up to 24 grams of concentrates.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I'd like to hear that
Love
3
it,
ounce
yeah.
number, because
Yeah.
we're 2.5 ounces here,
We're
and we
2.5,
oftentimes
that's weird.
talk about it, like the states that come after should always be trying to push the envelope a little bit more, and you know,
Sure.
so that's really good to hear. I'm happy to hear about that.
The whole thing sounds great.
Did you mention is there funded social equity? Involved?
Yeah. Well, certain percentages of the tax proceeds go to benefiting people who've been adversely affected by the war on drugs. So I think it's 40% of the taxes. So that's really good. It actually puts that money back into those communities. And as far as licensing goes, I think people in those communities are fast-tracked and have you know, better ability to actually receive licenses if they want to have a social consumption lounge, if they want to have a grow, if they want to have a dispensary, whatever it might be. And so it's kind of, hopefully it'll be, you know, a beacon for future legalization efforts and other states to follow suit, because I think honestly the people who put it all together really looked at other states where things have gone legal and the pros and cons in different places, and I hopefully avoided some of the pitfalls.
Danny, what's the tax rate? I know you talked about tax revenue, but how hard are they hitting the people?
It's not tremendous. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's somewhere around 9 or 10% tax. And, you know, I mean, I think it's unrealistic for people to expect there to be sales without tax. Again, whatever you grow at home is untaxed. So there's that. And anytime you're going to sell anything, I don't care if it's, you know, corn, tomatoes, or any other product, there's going to be taxes associated with that. So the idea that there, you know, wouldn't be any sort of tax on cannabis sales is kind of, you know, pie in the sky. But I think we did get away with a much more decent number rather than some places where it's really heavily taxed and over-regulated and overburdening the legal businesses, and therefore basically boosting up the underground still.
10's where we're at here in Michigan, and we've been, hopeful that other states were going to follow along too. You're right. Less than 10 is probably unrealistic. Most folks that come to the legalization bandwagon nowadays have come there because of financial or economic reasons. So we have to recognize that tax is just going to be associated with cannabis liberalization.
But I think that
and I think
the 9 or 10% zone means that people have done some research, though, because that's
right.
Because you don't want to go too high, but you want to generate something.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, and the politicians are not going to let us have tax-free weed. We all know that. That's the catch with the government is you throw them a little bone. You say, look at all the tax money. Look at the tax. That's how you get the communities too. A little community catch. That's how you get approval.
What time frame before this new law takes implementation? How quickly do people have those personal freedoms? And did I read that people can now smoke openly on the streets of New York City?
Yeah, I mean, the law actually went into effect when the governor signed it. So technically right now, smoking is legal anywhere where people smoke cigarettes.
Nice.
And so that's interesting, although that does exclude like city parks and other places. But the cultivation, the home grow doesn't kick in for 18 months if you're not a medical patient. If you're a medical patient, you can start growing in 6 months. If you're a recreational user or adult use person, I think you have to wait 18 months. And I think it might be 18 months after the first dispensary opens. So that's a little bit problematic. That could be up to 2 years from now for the home grow. Although I doubt, the police are knocking down anyone's doors at this point. I think the incentives for them to be reaching into people's pockets are gone when it comes to cannabis. And the NYPD put out a release basically saying that people using cannabis on a street corner or on their front stoop is no basis for any kind of search or seizure of any kind. So as long as they stick to that, I think we're in pretty good shape. And like I said, we won't have stores selling adult use cannabis probably for another 6 to 12 months, just because I think they need to set up the commission and set up the licensing, and it's going to be a little while. But at least, this bill, the MRTA, was proposed originally, I think, in 2013. So it's been almost 8 years that the bill has been languishing, and we finally got it passed. So we in New York are very ecstatic. We are, overjoyed with what we were able to get. And we were, sort of reluctantly willing to accept less and surprised by what we ended up getting. And so I think that's really exciting. And I think that other future states that are going to pass are going to look to us, hopefully, for ways to do it.
It's almost a fairy tale. The politician stumbles and the people win, right?
That's awesome.
Well, we're not allowed to vote on it here. We don't have referendums like you guys have in Michigan or other states have. It has to come through our legislature. And for a long time, there was a lot of roadblocks there. And, luckily now, it was like a perfect storm. The legislature is Democrat for the first time in 30 plus years. And the governor is embattled and needed something good to put in the newspaper, and knew that this was polling well and very much a bipartisan issue.
I mean, that's a national trend. Philandering governor, get better cannabis laws. Dial.
Yeah.
So he'll tell you exactly.
It's not going to save it. It won't save his ass, though, right? Or will it?
I don't think so. I mean,
People are still kind of pissed. Yes.
Yeah.
So Danny, is there plans for, or is it already in the language? Possibly, do you know for transportation to be like a big licensing consideration in its own right, like it is in Michigan?
Well, I do know that their delivery is part of the law. So there will be home delivery of cannabis products. So I'm not sure if that's what you mean by
I think he's
travel,
referring to delivery between cultivator to retail facility,
to processor or to store.
Is there a requirement for that cannabis to be transported in big trucks with licensed drivers and things?
You know, that I'm not 100% sure about. I'll have to look into that. I know that they left a lot kind of up to the coalition that they put together. There's like a board,
Rulemaking.
Cannabis Commission board
Yeah.
that they're putting together with 6 people, 4 chosen by, I believe, the legislature, and then 2 by the state Senate and the state House. So I think once that's in place and they really start writing the actual rules for how things are going to go down, it'll be interesting to see what they do as far as traveling from cultivation centers to distribution centers and all of that. But for me, the home grow really takes the cake, because
Yeah.
if you don't want to necessarily be part of the corporate cannabis system, you don't have to be. And if you're worried about the taxes, you don't have to worry. And if you want to purchase cannabis at like a farmer's market or a co-op or something like that, this law leaves that that door open to that. And I think for me personally, that's really the icing on the cake, and the social consumption and the equity, of course. I mean, those things are so valuable to those communities. And I think New York has been ravaged, obviously, the city and upstate, by the war on drugs.
It's hard to call it legalization and feel a little bit better about it if people can't just grow it for themselves, if they don't want to be a part of the commercial market. So really, at one point that was not included, as you know. So very nice that became a part of it. How does it work for where the locations of these operations are going to be? Is it going to be done on a community level? Every city or town decides for themselves how much activity they want, or if any?
I think so, yeah. I mean, they already have the opt-out system for some towns. They can opt out of having cannabis businesses, but they can't opt out of the law itself. So as far as people, as far as people consuming cannabis and all of that, they can't opt out of that part, but they can, if they choose not, they can decide not to have the stores and the social consumption lounges and that sort of thing. I think it would be, to their detriment to do that, but hey, every community has that option. And so I think New York can become New Amsterdam again, as it used to be when it was first settled by the Dutch. And I think, with the social consumption lounges being allowed, I think we're really, we're in a position where we could really change not just how cannabis is sold and where the taxes go, but also how it's consumed and what consumption lounges actually look like.
Revitalize some places.
Where do the taxes go? Are they earmarked for anywhere, or do they just hit like a general fund or something like that?
Yeah, well, right now, 40% goes to communities most impacted by the war on drugs.
Did say that.
And then the other, I think there's 40% going to like education and community, and then the other 20%, I have to look it up, but I know that the 40 goes to the social equity kind of programs.
That's a big number, man. There could be some teeth in a program with that kind of attention and funding being given to it.
The projections just in taxes, I mean, the projection in revenue is $4.5 billion in New York State, including the city and upstate. And then
over what time period, Danny?
Over a year, but not the first year, but once it starts chugging. But that also, analysts are anticipating that the taxes on that is going to bring in about $350 million a year. So you can imagine what a boost that is to communities both in the city and upstate, where obviously, just like Michigan, they've been severely impacted by the lack of manufacturing jobs and factories and all of that. So it really could just revitalize the state. And I think other states, New Jersey, Connecticut, they're all watching closely too, because right now, everybody in the area is sort of traveling to Massachusetts if they're purchasing adult use cannabis, and that's all going to change very soon as well.
Well, clearly, New York State would represent the second largest cannabis market in the United States of America, behind only California. And considering New York's status as an entertainment location, it seems like a wonderful complement to some of the jewels that you already have within the city. Before we start talking about Northeast Leaf, I'd like to just recognize that we've been joined right now by Jimmy Young from Pro-Cannabis Media. Jimmy, welcome to the broadcast.
So honored to be here. This is a great show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Of course, Pro-Cannabis Media broadcast our Hash Bash live broadcast through the Roku network on cable television this Saturday. We'll talk about that in a little while. Danny, I just wanted to mention Northeast Leaf. I mean, it's a pretty interesting publication that you've got, and we'll talk about your podcast after.
Yes, indeed. It's very exciting for me to be in cannabis print publishing with Northeast Leaf. I was with High Times for almost 20 years, and it's just amazing. The Leaf Nation magazines have been around for over 10 years, starting with Northwest Leaf in Washington State, and now we have California Leaf, Oregon Leaf, Alaska Leaf, Maryland Leaf, and Northeast Leaf, which we cover the 8 states of our region in the Northeast, all the way from Maine to New Jersey. And as mentioned earlier, things are changing so rapidly in these states. We're very excited to be part of it and to be reporting on the community and the industry as it's so rapidly changing. So it's really exciting. People can check us out on social media, Northeast Leaf Mag on Instagram. And the magazine is free. It's free to read online. It's free to read in person. Our latest issue I actually have here is our glass issue with beautiful cover shot of some mothership glass,
Nice.
also from the Pacific Northwest. But we cover. We have some national coverage that is in across all the magazines, and then we have our local coverage and local advertising that we do with dispensaries, with head shops, seed companies, rolling paper, all of it. So, yeah, it's really been exciting. It's really revitalized my love of print publishing and writing magazine articles and basically just educating the community. There's so many people in the Northeast that are wondering what are dabs, what is THC and CBD, and how can these things help me? What's the proper dosage? So we're here to basically just be a voice for those people.
Danny, what's your role at the Leaf? Are you just the editor, or are you also writing columns monthly for it as well?
I'm the editor. It's a small operation for the time being. Got a couple of colleagues with me working on editorial, advertising, and our web presence. We just launched a website too called leafmagazines.com, which has content from across all the Leaf Nation magazines, as well as some web-only content that we're doing. So, my role is a little bit of everything. I'm involved in distribution of the magazine. I'm involved in editing other people's articles, writing my own, basically putting it all together. And it's really a labor of love. The people I work with are amazing. There's nothing corporate about it. It's all very grassroots, very much like us, just putting something together to hopefully benefit the industry, benefit the community.
How many print do you do each month, or each issue rather?
For Northeast, we do 20,000 copies. Across all of the Leaf magazines, I think it's something like 110,000 copies of print magazines, which is incredible. It might be the biggest print cannabis, publication. I don't know for sure, but either way, the idea of it being free is pretty amazing to me. I mean, that was a big thing at High Times, is trying to get, the right cover lines and images to get people to spend the $7 to buy a magazine. But if it's free, then you just want to make sure it's all the best information is in there and in a presentable way, easy to look at, easy to read.
Is that a quarterly or a monthly?
It's monthly. Yeah, it's monthly. So this is our April issue, is the glass issue. And then, we have other issues that we've done, the global issue, the future issue, action issue is our, activism and action, basically involved in changing the laws and making things better. And one thing I should mention about New York too is that automatic expungement is part of the law as well. People don't have to go and apply or fill out forms. If they have a cannabis conviction, it's automatically expunged. And
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing as well.
Well, how's the social equity areas defined? Or is it are there areas like by
by poverty,
socioeconomic
by-
factors or
Yeah,
something like that?
I think it has to do with socioeconomic factors and how adversely affected they were by severe law enforcement, and also by drug activity, illegal activity by cartels and gangs and things like that. So I'm not exactly sure how that's determined, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I like that. We tried to do the automatic expungement thing here, but it was deemed too risky by the people we were working with for challenges and things like that. So
Yep. There are other states that have had trouble with single issue rules. I think what is it, Mississippi right now that's struggling with that, where there's a challenge to the law because their constitution says they have to have one initiative per issue, and they put more than one issue in the ballot proposal. And that's what we struggled to avoid with Michigan's program, which is why we couldn't put automatic expungement in there for fear of having it overturned that way.
some people are under the impression that as long as it's limited to what is made legal, the things that are expunged for, that you can do that, but just too risky. So we're working on it after the fact, that and other issues too, try to keep it making it better all the time.
Yeah.
But that's really awesome that was a part of that package in New York. Thanks for bringing that up. That's a great one.
Danny, if we wanted to take a look at the Northeast Leaf on a monthly basis, is there a website that we could go to where we could view an electronic version of that yet?
Yes, absolutely. Well, there's leafmagazines.com where you can actually view it there the last 3 months or so. And also issue.com, which is ISSUU.com. If you just search for Northeast Leaf or any of the Leaf magazines, you can read them there online for free as well. And, we're in head shops and dispensaries all throughout the Northeast while they last. Because a lot of the places have been saying the magazines go pretty quickly.
Well, you are an author and a podcaster of note. Let's talk about being an author first, and then we'll get into the podcaster afterwards. Danny, talk about your book. Oh, look at him. He's prepared.
I got it all. Yeah.
That's smart. There you go.
So I wrote this book in 2018, and it was really just for people interested in growing their own, for beginners, intermediates, anybody who just was interested in creating their own high quality cannabis. And it's been going great. I mean, the pandemic actually has boosted the sales of the book, I think, because more and more people are spending a lot more time at home, and they know that they can purchase a grow tent and a light and get started and not really have to rely on retail or medical sales. And I think it's just a great option to have and a great hobby. It's very fun and exciting, and you get a great quality product. And it's like chess. You never become an expert. You're constantly always improving and just looking for something better the next time. And I highly recommend home grow to anyone who has it within their rights or their limits. And like I said, the size of the plant is not part of the law, only the amount of plants. So grow them big.
Well, I know
So many people in New York now could stand to give that a once over. Hope that
you need some street side stands now selling your book. Yes, now that home grow's legal, come to Danny Danko. So Danny, I mean, beyond the book, because the book is obviously great, and I'm sure people can buy that at Amazon and online. I mean, you spent all those years at High Times Magazine as cultivation guru, literally written hundreds of articles, in-depth articles about the science behind cannabis cultivation, really as an expert in the field. You've kind of mastered that craft, and now you've taken that into the podcasting world, where now you teach people how to do that via the internet. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, well, when I was at High Times, I started doing podcasting in 2011 with a show called Free Weed. That was my first show, and my co-host and I, Mike, did that show from 2011 to 2018. Also very cultivation heavy, just tried to interview people, whether they be seed breeders, people who create the strains, or growers, just to teach people and learn more about cultivation. And once that ended and my time with High Times came to an end, I decided to revamp the podcast as a new show called Grow Bud Yourself. And that's been the show since basically early 2020. So we started basically right around April of 2020, when the pandemic kind of got into gear, and we've been doing weekly shows ever since. We picked up some sponsors along the way. It's been really fun, really exciting. And again, it's free. People can listen to it for free and hopefully learn something about improving the quality of their cannabis. That's really what it's all about. It's the essential oils, the terpenoids, the flavonoids, the cannabinoids, and how they interact with each other in the plant and in our brains and our endocannabinoid system. You know, I think a lot of people are suffering because they don't have cannabinoids in their system. And I know that's to some people that might sound crazy, but the reality is those receptors want to recept. And if there's nothing for them to recept, they're going to be unhappy. And so our bodies are geared to receive cannabinoids. And I think it's important that we do. And why not receive the highest quality essential oils we can by growing the best flowers we can?
Of course, when we talk about cultivation, there are so many different styles. But if you were someone growing just 3 plants, first time New York State or Michigan or Massachusetts, where Jimmy's at, the fact is, you might want to start in something like a tent. Is that a good thing that you'd advise young cultivators to do?
Yeah, I think a tent is a great place to begin. There's lots of different sizes, lots of different options. They're light, tight. They can be put up and taken down by one person. They're very affordable for the most part, and you can grow hydro, you can grow in soil. I recommend growing in soil, you know, just simple 5-gallon Home Depot buckets, fill them up with soilless mix, drill some holes in the bottom and get started. The real key is just to grow and learn from it, and each time just improve, take notes and have fun.
Danny, any particular thoughts on the Autoflower?
Yeah, I mean, autoflowers serve a purpose, certainly in places where they have very short seasons, high altitudes, or, you know, up in Canada or regions where they just have a very short season. Autos are great for that. They're also a great way to have 2 harvests in a season. So you can plant in the spring and harvest in the summer, and then plant again in the summer and harvest in the fall. They have gotten the knock as being less potent in some ways because there's ruderalis genetics, low THC hemp mixed in that makes them flower automatically. But the reality is the breeders have gotten to where they've really improved the quality and the potency of autos to a place where they can certainly compete with other genetics as well. So autos serve a great purpose. They are simple. You know, you plant a seed and you walk away and you come back 90 days later and you harvest.
It's an easy
Yeah.
first crop for someone.
So our friends
Yes.
at
And
at
you don't have
Grow
to change
Green,
the photo period or anything, you know, just
Right.
keep them on 18.6 and
friends at Grow Green, Michigan here, a big grow store that actually ships things all over the country and probably even out of the country. Are going to work with us. Are going to be facilitating and sponsoring us a grow, and we're going to start off with some autoflowers and just something to help visually show people that process and that type of stuff. We're going to try out other things too, but we thought that would be a good one to get started with because of the time frame that you just suggested from start to finish.
Danny, we're going to talk about the recap of the digital hash bash from 2021, but could you share one of your favorite hash bash memories with us as we try to wind this segment down?
wow. Yeah. I mean, just getting to meet and be around John Sinclair is a true honor. He's a legend in so many ways. So, I mean, that's first and foremost, his involvement with that since its beginning is just incredible. And we're just so lucky to have him still with us and fighting the good fight. And he's just an amazing man. So I'd have to say that. For me also, being with Jorge Cervantes and doing grow seminars for people at the event as well is really exciting. Riding around on the golf carts and the fair and the diag. I mean, the cup, all of it.
The
It's
hash
just
bash cup where the whole hotel is 420 friendly and you
I could
smoke
not
while you're
believe it.
walking through the hallways. Oh, yes.
I couldn't believe it the first time I saw it. I mean, my eyes must have been just as big as my head. I couldn't believe it. And yeah, I mean, Ann Arbor has played such a major role in people's understanding of what decriminalization looks like, what legalization looks like, what harm reduction looks like, and how the police can actually work with us in ways to, keep us safe from harm, which I think is really important. And yeah, I mean, I have nothing but amazing memories of Hash Bash, and I'm honored to have gotten to participate in a couple of those over the years. And like I said, John Sinclair to me is a hero and a legend. So having that legacy, 50 years of freedom fighting as a part of that is really unique and a blessing.
We really appreciated your video contribution to last year's digital Hash Bash broadcast too. That was really nice. And you've been gracious enough to appear on Cabbage Café a couple of times before. Plus, we've known each other for a long time. Danny, it's always great to see you. Can you give us the website one more time so people can pick up on that podcast?
Yes, the website is growbudyourself.com. And you can listen to it pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, anywhere, and leafmagazines.com, and all the social media that entails, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, they're all out there. And yeah, I'm so excited to be part of this as it blossoms into something even different and new beyond our wildest dreams with Michigan, New York, and the entire country and world.
What a poet.
And New York is particularly important, man. That is that's a trigger for really advancing this, I think.
I know a lot of the East Coast states take their cue from the, New York, and it's so significant when it comes to commerce on the East Coast, and when states get into competition with each other for trade dollars and things, stuff like a positive marijuana program makes a big difference in where people locate their headquarters or where people want to relocate their families. So good for you.
100%. And at the end of the day, people not going to jail and being separated from their families is worth all the regulations and hassles and taxes that it entails. So that to me is ultimately freeing the prisoners and expunging the records is changing the world to be a better place and more positive, and that's exciting.
Danny, I hope you hang out with us though as we transition over to the Hash Bash discussion. Do you have some time?
I got a few minutes. I got a 5 o'clock, but I'll be
Yeah.
here for the next 10 minutes or so.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
awesome.
Thanks.
Let me reintroduce Jimmy Young, who's joined us. Jimmy Young's from Pro-Cannabis Media, which is a multimedia source from the Massachusetts area. They broadcast the live version of the digital 2021 Hash Bash, and will probably be doing so on a daily basis for some time out. Jimmy Young, welcome to Cabbage Café.
Well, thank you so much, Rick, and congratulations to everybody that was involved with the Hash Bash. I'll admit I broke my Hash Bash cherry by watching the broadcast this weekend. I'm late to the game when it comes to cannabis advocacy, maybe not the plant, but definitely cannabis advocacy. And it was great to see the legends of cannabis from Michigan that were so prominent during that broadcast. The different speakers, I think Danny mentioned John Sinclair. I think that's just that to me, amongst the socialization is part of the culture of cannabis that I've really enjoyed getting to know over the last couple of years since we've been building out this network of ours out of Massachusetts.
Yeah, we do have a rich history and a rich culture, and oftentimes some of our greatest heroes slip into obscurity. Eddie Lepp is really sick, and a lot of people don't realize Eddie's role. And we saw Steve D'Angelo posting some pictures of him all the way back with Dana Beal, way back in the Yippie days. Some of the folks that have been doing it for a very, very long time, maybe not getting the recognition they deserved. And Hash Bash is one of those rare opportunities where the world's attention is poised on cannabis consumers instead of on cannabis businesses. And we put on a wonderful face, I think, for everyone to see for what cannabis consumers really are. If you look at some of the people like Eugene Monroe and Calvin Johnson, the governor, the attorney general, it's a pretty high caliber list of folks speaking out on behalf of cannabis there.
Right. And I love the passion for the cause. You can hear it in Danny's voice too. He's been around it for a decade, and that to me is something that always stands out. When you get people that are like-minded, that are passionate about a subject like this, and want to see the world discover what an amazing plant this is, that there's something special there. I think we all kind of miss it as a community, going to these conventions and running into each other in various hallways or parties or what have you. So the next best thing is things like what you guys are doing here and what we're doing on a somewhat regular basis at Pro-Cannabis Media too.
Before we start talking about your broadcast network, Pro-Cannabis Media, and all of the different things that you do, let's stay on the Hash Bash for a minute. Could you give us your thoughts about the broadcast itself? You and I shared some thoughts earlier today, and I thought they were nice, and they might be something that people would like to hear.
Well, I took notes. And I picked up on a few things that I found interesting. I really thought you guys did a great job of making sure that the people that support you, your sponsors, had the time to talk about how they were sponsors and what they're doing in the cannabis community. And I think that's really important. It's one of the reasons why we started what we're doing here, is giving a voice, a professional voice, and an opportunity to tell your story to the cannabis industry, because most media outlets aren't doing that. I've spent most of my career in newsrooms, and unless it bleeds, it doesn't lead. And they're always looking for reasons for the cannabis industry to fail so they can lead their broadcast with it. And I don't like that. I want to be able to hear the stories of how cannabis saved my life and cannabis changed my life. And you guys had a whole bunch of people doing that throughout the live stream. And I enjoyed hearing that. The musicians were awesome. This is the one thing, Rick, you and I talked about this. It's tough to actually take live music and make it be what it is on a Zoom call or on a live stream or in a little window. We're all kind of, I'm used to going outside for live music and enjoying the fresh air and the camaraderie of the people that are watching it. But you do lose that. But you guys managed to keep it, mixing it up, and you had interviews, and then you'd go out live to the what do you guys call it? The Diag? Is it in Ann Arbor? Is that what it's called?
It's an area on the University of Michigan campus where the Hash Bash is traditionally held.
Well, we had the Quad at Tufts University, but it wasn't as big as the Diag, and also the amount of people that you guys have in Ann Arbor. Just learning the history, watching some of the athletes talk. Eugene Monroe, I thought, was a riot, and Al Harrington, what a great spokesperson. A lot of these sports guys have a lot of not just passion about it, but also they're investing in it. The Chris Webbers of the world coming up with $100 million fund to help social equity applicants out. I love that the athlete now is getting more and more notice and using their platform to share parts of their lives about social issues. And it goes beyond the sports arena. And that's something obviously very passionate to me too, Rick, you know that.
Well, and of course, if you look at Colin Kaepernick's story, just a few years, it wasn't very popular for sports figures to use their platform to express their viewpoint and to try and accomplish things. And now I think we're much more accepting of that situation. And
hey, I go back to John Carlos and Tommy Jet Smith, 1968 Olympic Games, Mexico. Okay. All I know is when I was 13, Rick, you and I both bonded a little bit about being age appropriate in the cannabis fight. It was great to see then, and now I'm finally seeing it again. But the other side to that coin is I cannot believe that we're in 2021 and we're still fighting the same battles that we fought in the 60s in many ways. Maybe we weren't as focused on a war that was unpopular, but the social issues is still there, and racism is still a major part of the history of this country, and it's embedded in our society. And I do think we're finally making strides on trying to do something about changing that. And I can't believe cannabis is right in the middle of it too.
Well, oftentimes people think of athletes as single generational wealth gatherers. They earn it, they burn it, and then there's nothing to travel forward. So they're not creating what we call generational wealth for African Americans or for people, minority groups. But with the opportunity that cannabis provides, they can take that one lifetime base earning and turn it into something beautiful that they can travel, and that can be a cross-generational wealth machine for them. And I think we've all talked about it. Certainly African Americans and minorities have been disproportionately affected by the war on drugs. If there was any group out there that deserved a hand up and a leg in on this industry, I think we'd all agree they would qualify for it. Jimmy, we had musical guests, we had other things. What about the politicians? Are you impressed by the fact that as a cannabis broadcast, we had a governor and attorney general on the broadcast?
100%. And boy, what a nice thing to actually have a friendly cannabis governor in your state, because that is not the case in my state here in Massachusetts. Okay. The Republican Charlie Baker, remember the essential that cannabis was essential during the pandemic in most states, except in one. Here in Massachusetts, he shut down the adult use recreational market, but he left the medical open, which certainly was okay for me. But why make an exception? It just doesn't make any sense at this point in 2021. He was afraid of the crowds. And come on, we're now used to social distancing. We could have been, those who used it as an adult use recreational product got used to the social distancing in line just as easily as going to a supermarket. So the guy did everything he could to slow down the growth of the industry in this state. And there's a big difference between governors like that and governors like yours in Michigan, or even governors like Cuomo in New York, and what's his name? Is it Murphy or Scott? I get the two, Vermont and New Jersey, mixed up. The governor in New Jersey too was always pro-cannabis and saw the benefits to the economy and to those tax dollars that can make such a difference. And anyway, it is what it is. We live and learn in Massachusetts. Just remember it did all start here with a big party. Remember that? Remember that.
Jim, did you want to jump in there? No. So the Boston smoke-in, is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about the American Revolution, actually.
Wow, you're kind of claiming credit for a lot
Party.
of stuff that happened after that, though, right? I mean,
Yeah, but the Tea Party was here, right? I mean, we were the rebels. Boston was the rebels. We started this, right?
acceptable.
Anyway,
Totally acceptable.
I digress. I'm very proud of my New England heritage.
Now, when we talk, oh, I'm sorry, Jamie, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I thought that Jim was trying to unmute and say something, and I know
thought so too.
That he
Apparently,
mentioned earlier he might have to leave early. So, Dave, Jim, is there anything you want to get in before you do have to leave? And Jim was a huge part of the Hash Bash presentation too. He was on the committee. He helped to do a lot of the facilitating.
One of the quarterbacks.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Everyone really pitched in. Enough people made it work out and actually get completed. It was great. And it's really nice to hear you, Jimmy, talk about your experience and what you saw on that side. I'm really thrilled about that. I do have to go. I wish I could stick around a little bit more, but I'll talk to you guys later, and best to everybody. Thank you.
Thanks for your work on
a
Hash
great
Bash,
job.
and thanks for being here today.
I guess.
Jimmy, thanks again for joining us. You're joining us from where in Massachusetts?
Just outside of Boston. It's in Wellesley, which is about 15 miles. It's on the course of the Boston Marathon. And it's literally 2 miles from where I grew up, which was Newton, Massachusetts. But I've been lucky enough and fortunate to be in commercial media for 40 years and have spent it all in New England. So I have been able to wave the flag for all those sports teams that I followed my whole life and then had an opportunity to cover for 25 years. So I'm okay. I'm okay where I am right now.
And you have the word Emmy associated with your name?
Yeah, it just so happens. Woohoo!
Oh, what a surprise.
Within arm's length. And I'm most proud of, not so much that I won one, but I'm most proud of how I won it and what it was all about. We started a live sports talk show for kids where only kids could call into the show. And we brought athletes in studio to talk about social issues. So there we were, back in the mid 90s doing exactly what you're still seeing now. And we were giving a forum to young people. I always say, you give a young person an opportunity, they'll blow you away with their ability. And that's exactly what we were able to do on that show. And it was a sports special that we won, which was a very competitive category in New England. But anyway, I was very proud of that more than I was actually the trophy itself. And by the way, I never got a chance to go on stage and accept it. I sent a couple of my kids because I was working that night.
Well, still the wonderful accomplishment, even if you didn't get the glory of standing there and thanking the Academy or whoever it is.
Well, I'm going to get a national one, and it's going to have to do with cannabis. That's my goal next.
Well, we'll help you do that. Let's talk a little bit about Pro-Cannabis Media. You have a network that broadcasts multiple shows.
Yeah, well, so we produce 3 original pieces of content every week. One is my regular In the Weeds with Jimmy Young podcast that is an audio and video interview that we strip the audio, make it a podcast. We take the text transcription, we post that as well. So we're creating a long form piece of content and giving consumers an opportunity to either watch it, listen to it in the background, listen to it when they're mobile, or read it when they're on the toilet or wherever they are, where they're doing their reading these days. I don't know where people do reading anymore, right? And the other 2 shows that we do is a weekly news show that Rick Thompson, by the way, is our new Michigan correspondent and doing a great job. And then we do a live stream talk show on the business of cannabis that we call the Green Rush. And Bruce Linton, who's probably one of the biggest names in cannabis entrepreneurship, is our leadoff headline guest at 4:00 this coming Friday, all Eastern time, 4 p.m. Eastern time on Friday.
Nice.
So those are the 3 original shows we do. And then we have 5 other contributing producers, the Green Nurse Group, the Emerald Media Group, Vote Pro podcast. And, we live stream 12 hours of content, news, information, and education now on our Roku channel. So it's so funny. I was just on a call with a woman who's producing a show for veterans and wellness that we're debuting tomorrow night. And she went onto our YouTube channel and she starts showing all these videos. And I'm like looking at all these videos. Probably I've done over 300 interviews in the last year. And I looked at all those interviews and I'm like, man, it's no wonder I'm tired. It's a lot of people I've talked to and I've learned quite a bit. And that, I think you guys know it's a fascinating time to be talking about cannabis because it touches so many different parts of our lives now.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and it's such a huge factor in the economy, not just in the places where it currently is, but in the places where it might potentially be. You could have places that might process hemp that wouldn't allow legalized cannabis. You have places that could really blossom and reseed arid lands with the plants that have been forbidden from us for decades and decades. It really is a reformative time.
It is. Oh, it totally is. And the other neat thing about our conversation earlier, Rick, is you knew the song Shanty. Okay, that's all I got to say. Shanty by Jonathan Edwards is my form of the Waldos and 420. And we play it every Friday at 420. Jonathan is from New Hampshire, so he is a New Englander. And it was the song that we used to hear on alternative AM rock stations in the Boston area in the 70s. And that's how far back I go, I guess, Rick. I guess we both aged a little bit. We definitely bonded a bit about our memories of the 70s. That's
true. But it makes me happy to know, Jimmy, that you're still a couple years older than me. So, yeah.
I'm proud of the fact that I've made it to 63, given the fact that I've had as much experience with this plant as I've had throughout my life. Okay.
Well, it's healthy.
Yeah.
That's right. Cannabis
and
will help keep you alive.
To look good, my darling. You know what I'm saying? It's very important to look good. That's what I try to tell people.
So talk about Roecho and how people can access that and how revolutionary it is to be able to broadcast cannabis programming on cable television.
Well, you said cable television. It's not cable television, Rick. It's internet television.
I apologize.
It's internet distribution. It's live streaming. I did live streaming for the first time in 2009. My first business was Young Broadcasters of America, where I trained young people to be on-camera talent, and we live streamed their talk shows and their interviews and their video game reviews, and God, it was a lot of fun. We had a training studio, and we were live streaming back then on my website when people didn't even know what live streaming was. Now we're in an era where the consumer is cutting the cable, cutting that cord, and still getting access to tons of content through the internet. Now, it isn't, I'll be perfectly honest with you, it's not as good a user experience as the cable, because the cable is, it is like you click on a button, you get the channel. You got to be patient if you're going to be on the internet. finding our streaming channel on Roku is a bit of a challenge. Even if you have Roku built into your TV, and now there's something like 50 million users of Roku out there. Some of them have them built in to TV sets. You have to go on the home page and not go to the Roku channel, but the Roku streaming channels, and then add Pro-Cannabis Media or PCM TV. And the beautiful thing is you can actually put it right next to your ESPN or your CNN or your NFL or any other network out there that is using live streaming now to share their content. And it is the billion channel universe. Cable used to be the 600 channel universe. Now you're at the billion channel universe when you're talking about the internet as far as distribution goes. But that's the consumer in charge of their use of media now. And it's a fascinating time to be doing that. And I love being able to come into my office every day and hit my little remote and go to play live. And there's our shows live streaming, just like every other channel out there. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, wonderful. And any idea what the approximate reach is of that Roku network?
Well, I could tell you, again, 50 million people are using Roku on a regular basis. Okay, 50 million. I believe it's 45 for Amazon Fire Stick, another 18 for Apple TV. Android, I think, has about 1.5 million right now. So how many are using them? We just connected our Google Analytics to our Roku channel, literally about Thursday. So about a week ago. So now we're going to be able to tell who's watching what, where, and how long they're watching.
And from what location and for how long, all of the statistical data.
Right. And it's Big Brother. It really is. I found out something very interesting about this, though. On Google Analytics, it can tell you where your viewers or where your downloaders are, where people are using and watching your signal. And when we saw it broken down by state, New York State had the most. And I was like, well, that's a big state. So is California, Texas too. I said, I'm not. Then I find out that New York is the default for the iPhone, the Apple iPhone. And basically, if you don't turn on your notifications, you get New York is where you are. And I didn't know that. That was something I learned, again, because the streaming part isn't new to me. The analytical part is new to me. And looking at those numbers and really drilling down to see how long people are staying on, are they clicking through, where they're clicking from, that sort of thing. I use the word fascinating. Fascinating time to be in media, fascinating time to be in cannabis.
Well, we can broadcast a hash bash broadcast completely from a soundstage with pre-recorded videos using amazing technology and send it worldwide.
This is visual radio, Rick. Yeah. That's what this is right now, what we're doing. It really is. We used to do this over the phone in radio studios, right?
Mm-hmm. I started doing cannabis on the real radio. We broadcast our show with Steve Green on WDTW, WTKG, and WFNT. It was the first syndicated cannabis radio program in the state of Michigan. And I loved doing radio, but when we did video and audio, I liked it even more. Right.
It's, what? I'm still waiting to do a syndicated live cannabis call-in talk show, Rick, and I bet I know somebody who'd be a great co-host.
Mm-hmm.
You.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Colin, because he'd let you get a lot of words in.
And Colin definitely was featured in the one of those videos.
Colin certainly was
on the broadcast,
mm-hmm.
and was instrumental in the effort in Ann Arbor for decriminalized nature for entheogenic plants and decriminalized mushrooms. And I know that just happened.
Yeah,
in the area in Massachusetts also.
Cambridge, Somerville, and Northampton. Yeah. So
Northampton's a hippie colony, basically. It's still, okay.
And Ann Arbor of the East, huh? Okay.
Right, and it's on the way to the Berkshires, and the Berkshires are a very interesting dynamic because there's a ton of dispensaries now within a 5-mile border of New York. And you got to wonder, because 80% of their business was from the other side, if you will. Not that they're supposed to be able to take cannabis across state lines. Not that ever happened before. So I
It
really
doesn't
want
happen
it
in
to
Michigan
happen now.
either.
Not at our border with Indiana in the southwest
Or
corner.
Ohio.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Anyway.
Oh man, no, it was a wonderful broadcast as far as the digital hash bash goes. We raised some money for some charities. Jamie, did you want to talk about that for a moment?
Well, we've talked a lot about the things that we're still working on and the reason for protests. And one of the primary things is people still sitting in prison for what's legal and for what many people are doing for their living right now, and are just engaging in activity for any reason. And there was a coalition that was formed after an effort of many groups kind of working together to get a particular prisoner in Michigan, Michael Thompson, out, who had an egregious sentence. And the more we learned about it, the more upsetting it actually was. But we wanted that to be the first of many, and the approach and everybody working together was very promising. So coalition was formed, and we've even attracted some more help from some other national organizations, and really hope to make a push and get more people out on a regular basis, get a streamlined system in place, ideally, and get help of the governor if we can. So obviously, to give that organization some money, we thought would be beneficial. And then the other organization that we're going to donate to is the John Sinclair Legacy Foundation. The reason that Hash Bash exists, I think, as you even noted earlier on, Jimmy, is because of John Sinclair. And of course, Danny Danko took a moment out to mention that was one of the highlights of his experiences at Hash Bashes, being able to meet him. And it's true. It's because of him that whole thing got kicked off. And it is important to preserve his legacy. That guy has a very wide range of things and activities, a poet. He's an international icon in many different ways. He's been there and done that for a really long time, and we want to preserve his memory and his legacy and help out his family. So,
you know what's amazing to me is there are 50 states in this union, and there probably are stories like Sinclair, D'Angelo, Thompson. There are in each state, and now we're finally having the opportunity to find them, talk about them, and put some attention to them and give them their just desserts, I guess, more than anything else. And again, it goes back to the 60s and 70s. A lot of these guys were wronged by some horrible laws. They've been in jail for years and years for crimes that, if I wasn't a white guy, okay, I might have been profiled and put in jail too. And I just feel horribly guilty about it. And I want to do whatever I can to help out, get the people that are in jail out now. And that's why that Last Prisoner Project, what D'Angelo is doing, is great too. Again, just getting attention to what's been going on in our world over the last 30, 40, 80 years.
Last Prisoner Project is a main component of this coalition, and came in. It was a very driving force and very organized, and brought in experienced people, but they really appreciated how on the ground here we were able to offer the kind of support and help in ways that they found to be really productive. So they're really trying to nurture this, and I think we will be successful in getting this going.
Well, you did a great job Saturday, and we're gonna take the final product and run it again on our Roku channel as soon as we get our hands on it. So Rick and I are working on that.
And of course, we're just waiting for a final produced version. You can, in the meantime, take a look at the version that was raw and live you can find the link on my Facebook page, the Ann Arbor Hash Bash page. Colin MacDougall, Jamie Lowell, we've all got it. We've all sent it around. Plus, we had a couple press releases go out yesterday. One that talked about Laganja Strange's music video, which was featured a world premiere music video in the Hash Bash broadcast. And then also another press release that highlighted the sports athletes and some who were extremely forthcoming with information about their past cannabis use while during their playing days, which again is another topic that was taboo until just very recently. Some of these folks are coming out for the very first time, or they're maybe saying more loudly something that they may have whispered in the past. And in this instance, giving them a vehicle to broadcast their support it's important, especially since they weren't doing it from a corporate perspective. They're doing it from a personal perspective.
Right.
I just want to mention also, like in the Hash Bash broadcast, I really liked how there was like the nonprofit organizations like would pop up every now and then. Like Michigan Normal kept coming up, and just kind of kept. I really liked how that was edited, and also the Students for Sensible Drug Policy video was like really funny, and I gotta shout out to them, and it was really good, I thought.
Yeah.
Well, Shelly's, who was just on here
Shelly's
for a minute, but
too,
she got off. But just to mention, yes, we are looking for a more polished version of that. But really, that went off pretty well. It was well planned, and because of some of the pre-recording stuff and how well like Rick and Q facilitated a lot of the live stuff, it still looked pretty good. You know, even right off the bat.
I thought it was really good, and Q did a really good job. I know that sometimes she didn't know exactly when to like come in with the music and stuff, and I'm sure it was just like really confusing, like to do that, just like record that audio, but she did a great job, I thought.
We had to roll.
And I like how you guys went between the two, like to the desks sometimes, and that was pretty cool. And just
Social revolution.
Yeah, the social revolution desk.
That's right. That's me, the social revolution.
You know, so Nick Zettel had a lot of these ideas. He didn't want to put together another broadcast. Sorry, I'm outside because it's so nice outside, but I'm also right next to Woodward Avenue in Detroit. So, but he had a lot of the ideas to try to put this together in a way that would have a combination of presentations, pre-recorded, live music, discussion, some different people, and I thought it worked out really well. I mean, last year we did one, but it was like not real organized or super produced or something like that. But we pulled it off, and it was good, and we got a lot of great things on record. But this one definitely was well conceived and worked with some good people to pull it off.
Yep. I'd like to just emphasize what Colin said about the SSDP video. The three gals that did that, the wonderful women from Students for Sensible Drug Policy, they took a canoe and went out into the middle of a lake because they were trying to socially distance, you know, it was quite funny. It really made a point. They left the bloopers in. You know how sometimes when you leave bloopers in, it just accents everything. It really was quite good, and all three of them had an opportunity to speak and address different areas of their SSDP's interest. You could tell that they spent some time on it, and I really wanted to give them extra shout out, just like Colin had. Shelly's was good too. The Michigan Normal video was quite good as well. Governor Whitmer submitted a video which was short, brief, but you know, seemed sincere. Dana Nestle's video a little bit longer, as attorneys tend to be, a little longer in the oratory.
We are lucky in a lot of ways that they are, in my opinion, doing a good job overall in their respective positions. Some of us, believe it or not, it might not look like that from you know, another state looking in or something, but there's still some things we're still trying to urge them to do and to help out with and to help shape up a little bit here too.
We talked a long time ago about shepherding the program through. Once we got legalization in 2018, we knew that we would still have to monitor the things that the legislature did, that the executive branch did, and that, you know, we'd have to mitigate some damage that courts would do to the interpretation of what we were doing. So it's important. Jamie is actually one of the maybe 9 people in the state that can actually claim to have been an actual author of the legalization program itself. So when you have someone that can express what was the intent of the drafters, what was the intent of the electorate, that's a valuable position to be able to wield. So we're very fortunate that most of the folks that were involved in that process remain active.
So we tried to do, and Jim were here, and Mark and Nick and others who, Dawn and Jamie and Q and others who worked on this. They tried to be a balance of a lot of things. There's a lot of controversy about New World hash bash presentations. You know, of course, the COVID stuff even confuses it even more, with there being a virtual version of it versus, you know, the standard assembling at the diag kind of a thing. But even without that, there's discussion and controversy of some more traditional ways of doing it versus some of the new age ways of doing it, with the change of laws and the industry becoming a big part of everything, and stuff like that. So I think we tried to and achieved having a balance of like all of those components. I mean, this is something different to a lot of people, and over the 50 years, it's become something important to many, but in a slightly different way. So I think we tried to cover a lot of ground. Those politicians were a part of it. We, as you noticed, we had Congressperson on there too, Debbie Dingell, and a letter read from Earl Blumenauer. We covered the pro athlete side of stuff. There were activists who pulled some stuff off. There were heads of advocacy organizations. There were a lot of us right here who've been around for a long time doing this stuff. We incorporated some of the decriminalized nature psychedelic society efforts and that kind of stuff this time around. I thought it was really well balanced. I mean, completely understand the part of this was about people who needed to walk on that hollow ground down on the Diag anyway, in spite of just some of the concerns and risk and why it wasn't formally kind of organized down there again this year, and why the university and the city weren't giving out permits and stuff like that. But it appears as though there's so many of them, and people were generally responsible, and they were able to kind of have a traditional, that's what some of those hash bashes looked like in the old days.
Yeah. Yep. And at the end, apparently, Adam did get a megaphone and did some speechifying, gave it to a couple of people who were also able to contribute. So there was at least some message delivered, some purpose to the folks coming down, other than just people standing in the same group of people that they were in a car with 10 minutes ago and freezing on the Diag for an hour while they share joints.
Some people did both.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yep. So it was, I think it was a good day. There's controversy and, kind of like idealism and tradition and all that kind of stuff in the mix of argument and sometimes, but all together it was a really good day for everybody.
Excellent. And Jimmy, you mentioned in our previous conversation, you watched the live stream that we did with Daryl Stavros, Jamie's old business partner, Daryl Stavros, right from the Diag itself.
He likes it when people just say ex-partner.
Ex-partner?
Yeah.
I love
it. Makes it more ambiguous.
Yeah, he likes that.
I love the
Daryl
idea
in
of
particular.
doing anything you can live, even if there are some technical challenges. The attempt to keep it going, the adrenaline rush of being live on the internet is so similar to being live on the radio or live on television, Rick, back in our careers. So, I love the cut-ins. It also gave me a feel for the Diag, I kept hearing everybody talk about it. And so I want to congratulate you guys. I do have to run, but you guys keep it up. We're waving the flag. We got great momentum. Let's do it again next year, and let's bring it out to the entire world. How's that?
I'm happy to do that. And as
Appreciate
soon as we
it.
get that finished version, you'll get one too.
Yep. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for broadcasting it.
Happy to do it. And we're so happy to have Rick working with us too. It's a great thing. It really is.
Thank you, Jimmy.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Take care. Jimmy Young from Pro-Cannabis Media, everyone. Thanks again for joining Jazz Cabbage Cafe. It's quite amazing to be on the streaming internet with potentially millions of viewers. Interesting stuff. Well,
we were ditched by Deb. I didn't notice. She did actually have to go take care of some stuff that she let me know about. I knew that
everybody's done that to us. Jim did that.
Knew that Jim was going to
Danko
go. He announced it, and Shelly came on for a couple of minutes and then left, and then Ray was maybe thinking about coming on today, which I kind of wish he was going to, because next week we're going to go to the botanical company and retail store in Franklin Fields Cultivation for a broadcast, and on top of that, during the day, Jake Greba and Midnight Roots is going to be doing a vendor day at the Botanical Company, and Ray's going to be around jamming a little bit. Then we'll do the show from there, and we'll show off plants, and we'll try some medicine and all types of really cool stuff. And they did put some of this into the New Age High Times Cup event, so we'll see what's going on with that. And it has changed, and I know some of the details, but maybe since that has gone down, we can find out a little bit more about how it works now.
Good conversation to have when we're there at Franklin. Exactly. And the week after, Jamie, we have another special remote broadcast. Talk about Apothecare.
Yeah, we're going to be at Apothecare. Jim was there one time and did a remote broadcast. I visited there one time by their request to check out what they're doing, and that's the place that has a vertically integrated operation, grows only organically, and has a certification from a third party that utilizes the same standards as the USDA. That's a tough. We had Drew Hall on here, and he's the general manager, and he described it. Yeah, it's a tough way of doing it, but it's that standard that they want to meet. You know, with the microbial testing and stuff, and the way they yield sometimes, and you know, it's a tough road, but they're doing it. So I'm really
when you believe organic is best for the people that you're giving your cannabis to, then you have a desire to make sure that it's done proper.
So excited to be there. They have a lot of space, and they like to do a lot of stuff for the community, and they support John Sinclair in particular, and they invited us down to talk about who else should be noted from years past and being a part of the bigger picture movement to get to where we are now, and getting back to people like Denny Hayes and some of the really older normal people, Melody Carr and Rev and Christine Landino and Trina and Matt, and the list goes on. I mean, and so I'm kind of interested. It's kind of hard to there's a lot of people who have contributed, so it's kind of hard to home in on a few, but there are certainly some that stand out like that have got the time and recognition in, and be interesting to look at that a little bit, and just to celebrate, you know, all the work that a lot of people have done. And Josey has come back to us.
She's frozen right now, but she has come
She
back.
looks higher than she was the last time she was on. There she is.
I am pretty happy to be in the state of Michigan for sure. And I'm glad to be back.
Well, thanks for coming back. And go ahead, Joss.
I never stopped talking. It's probably your turn.
It's not quite a great connection at the moment. Maybe you drive into it, or it'll get a little bit better. But yeah, it's like 5:30. We've been through a lot of the guests, but we started right off with Josey because of her schedule. But I'm glad that she was able to come back on, and maybe there is a little bit more of that stuff to talk about. But normally we would be doing our normal show range if we would have had our normal first half hour of spinning something around and then having our discussion and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
So you want to just take a topic and run it through the short group that we have here, James?
We want to talk about the hash bash a little, or do you want more, or maybe good?
I wanted to confuse things to the point where we spent more time on just talking about different possibilities of things.
Do you know if Deb made it down to the hash bash?
She did not. She is totally vaccinated in the whole thing, and she's, as we've had her on here talking about, very excited about it. But she did cross paths with somebody who could have been exposed, so she decided to stay in for a few days. There's an outside chance that people, even if they're vaccinated, could still pass it from one person to another, possibly. So that was the right thing to do, and we're happy about that. And she had to go attend to her dogs, or she'd be here talking to us about it right now, and our cartoon packages would be on display.
Poor Josey.
Josey, did you watch the production of Hash Bash at all, by chance, or did you decide that you were too busy for it?
I spoke with Jamie that morning, and he was like, "Happy Hash Bash," and I couldn't believe that it was Saturday at 10 a.m. and I had almost missed the 50th Hash Bash. So I was super upset about that, but you know, Hash Bash is my favorite time of year. I was hoping we would talk about Hash Bash and like the history of it. And I was wondering who all went out there. I know that Adam Brick is watching the show. I saw him talking about expungement, so I did reach out to him, see if we can't expunge his record.
Nice.
But I know that him and John Sinclair were really holding down the fort there.
Yeah, they were out there. Daryl Stavros was there. Lathal said a lot of people double dip. Like you said, did a presentation with us, and then also participated in that. Yeah. Michael Toohey was down there. Brad Lemke, Mark Ryan,
Matt Abel. Matt Abel was down
Matt
there.
Abel.
We heard last night. We were on Medical Mondays with Adam, and he talked about Haas was down there selling T-shirts. Yeah. other folks too. I mean, the numbers, the
It sounds like it was pretty cool, actually. I mean,
500, 600, who knows what it was, but
Yeah.
it sure sounds like people enjoyed themselves.
Yeah. I mean, there is the reality of the pandemic and the reason why it was, came off like this year, but how it actually played out in real life, turns out to be pretty good. And I'm happy for those people who really wanted to experience that and took the precautions to do it in a way they felt safer about it. I'm also happy that we had our virtual alternative, because thousands of people packed in there with these numbers spiking still is not a good idea right now.
Well, what we did do is we got on videotape all of these messages from celebrities, from sports figures, from professional athletes, and also from industry leaders talking about the important changes that need to be made going forward. And those are messages that can inspire people every time we replay them on our YouTube channel, or on our Facebook page, on the Twitch stream, whatever we end up doing, or on the Roku internet television network, as soon as we get the finished video up there. I mean, that's, again, I hate to keep saying it, but there are so few opportunities where people actually give a shit about what cannabis consumers have to say. And this is one of those opportunities. So we needed to make sure that as many consumers and consumer representatives as possible had a chance to speak to that national audience, and they did.
So, I wanted to, I'm not sure if we did or not, but I wanted to highlight Lace performances on that video too. Obviously, Cosmic Knot was quite awesome, and they played live. Lath came into the studio and pre-recorded some stuff, but it was specifically for this, and he was quite awesome on those performances.
For those who are unfamiliar, Laith Al-Sadi, former contestant on The Voice, one of the finalists, I think, on The Voice. But even prior to that, what a legend around the state. A two-time Detroit Music Award winner just this year, and he's won awards previously. Plus, he's a legitimate recording artist. He's played with some of the best in the rhythm and blues industry. Plus, I mean, if you've ever get a chance to see that guy, he rocks hard. When he plays some of those, Jamie and I saw him in Royal Oak, where he put his guitar right up against a speaker and went all, Pete Townsend on it.
Jazz, blues, rock,
what a range.
Fusion, whatever. The guy does it. And his voice is quite tremendous, strong, and notable.
One of my favorite hash.
One of the reasons why he's good.
One of my favorite Hash Bash memories is Laith Al-Sadi playing the song John Sinclair at Hash Bash on the stairs. And I had a camera in my hand and I was taking pictures, and I just sort of stopped taking pictures just so I could listen to Laith. And I sort of forgot that I was there specifically to take pictures. And I was captivated by the music and the man and the message, because knowing cool. John.
So that song was also performed just this weekend by Cosmic Knot, and it was in conjunction with Tom Wall hooking up those electrodes to the plant, and that was a song that they inspired the plant to jam with them. And so that was really cool. That's worth watching. Anyway, if you want to just get on the video, go all the way to the end and watch these guys jam with the plant. And then toward the end, they just set their instruments down and let the plant finish out the song.
For those that don't know, you can actually hook electrodes up to the roots and to the base of a plant, and the plant's electromagnetic signals that you pick up can be translated into music by a special device. And the plant responds. When you play music around the plant changes its electromagnetic signal, so it responds to the types of music that you're playing. So when the band stopped playing, the plant was still in jam mode. So you can imagine how when you stop the music, suddenly people are still dancing. The plant was still doing it. It was really wonderful. It's cool.
I want to talk about the last time that Hash Bash was at Easter. It was the last year we could smoke in the Clarion, back when it was the Clarion, before it was the Wyndham. My mom was like smoking blunts in the hot tub with John from Skunk Magazine. Like all of the electricity went out. There was no water. We were smoking weed in the elevators and in the lobbies and outside. Steve Green was like popping honey sticks. He had just started Medhead, and he was popping honey sticks in all of everyone's coffee in the morning. I'm pretty sure Roy threw up in the parking lot. I ate a bunch of like edibles and fell asleep at 2:00. Like it was amazing. And also there was I remember there being a family there who was clearly not there for Hash Bash. They could have been there for Easter, or for one of the mini U of M games, and they were mortified. That was also Renee Wolf's last Hash Bash, so she passed away the September after that. And we did also a extremely big smoke-in on that day and got kicked out of the Clarion forever.
I do remember that. I was there.
Yep.
Dan Solano.
Lock the doors. We're burning this sucker down.
And Renee's son Caleb is a member of Sons and Daughters United. He does a lot of things in terms of the Renee Wolf grant, and he is still out there active in Ann Arbor. So, and it's legal to gift weed now. I'm not saying you should, give it to me or him, but it's legal. You can.
The door's open. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to walk through, but the door's open. No, so the Hash Bash Cup at the Clarion, which is now the Wyndham, I think, Wingate, something like that.
Oh, yeah, it's the Wyndham now.
Yeah, the Wyndham now. Those were really revolutionary. You heard Danny Danko. Now, for those that don't know, Danny traveled the world, Amsterdam, Jamaica, everywhere. High Times paid for him to go all over to see things. And you heard him say on this program, he walked into Adam Brooks Hash Bash Cup at that hotel one time, and his jaw fell out. He could not believe what he was seeing. It was a first for him, even with his broad level of experience.
I went because of a normal, it was like Michigan Normal or something, and there was like Michigan Normal folks go like down the hall or something or get in for free, and I was like, so you're saying, I was just like there, I'm like, so you can just like smoke in here, like it's like okay, like it just like couldn't comprehend. I was like with you two, I think, or you were there.
Yeah, that's it. Well, Adam,
and your mom, I think too, Josey, and Becky
yeah.
were
Everyone's
there
got a
as
good
well.
story about my mom making them smoke weed somewhere.
I got tons of them.
On social media.
Is Brenda with you now, Josey?
I didn't hear what you said.
Is Brenda with you now?
No, I'm waiting on my test results. I had to go to the doctor. I had like a lump in my chest, and so I'm just waiting to see what that is. And then I'll know. It's pretty late though. Like Jesus, they should just text me already.
Yeah.
Well, we certainly are sending the most positive of vibes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
We're vibing your lump. We're
to
vibing
hope
your
that
lump.
that thing is not anything
it's not anything
dangerous.
serious. It's nothing serious. It's totally fine. But it was just, I mean, if you remember, I was
Probably get it
misdiagnosed.
checked out. That was a good idea.
So I grew up with the timestamp, and so I think that it's nothing serious now, but I do take an outrageous amount of RSO as it is, so I guess I'll just have to take more of it.
So maybe it's Rick Simpson resistant lump.
Oh,
tissue.
yeah.
What? That would be bad to think about.
Man.
No. But back to the Hash Bash Cup, because I just enjoy talking about that. I had so many good times at that hotel. First of all, the hotel has kind of had a place in our history because we've used their little conference room to do different things, cultivation seminars and things, even when we were prohibited from smoking. So we gave that hotel a lot of money.
The quarterly normal meetings for a long time, and around Hash Bash weekend specifically.
Yep, and we've really given a lot of money to that hotel. So Adam was able to, in some wily way, convince them that he would scrub the entire hotel down or pay for it to be scrubbed down after our event if they let us burn essentially without restriction throughout the hotel. Clearly they were, the first time we did it was epic. It was just crazy. It's just everybody didn't know what to expect, and they were all surprised. And when they got the high sign and everything was okay, people were just outrageous.
So the Hash Bash Cup is definitely my favorite event, or at least one of the many. So back in when we first passed the law, so 2010, 2011, 2000, maybe even 2012, we were just real crazy. I think we all didn't really understand what the courts interpreted the law as. So we thought everything was legal, and not everything, but we definitely thought we had the right to be there because we had a card. And I was 14 at the time when I got my medical card. So I was like, I have a license to smoke marijuana. Like, and we were doing it all over there. I think the rooms for the Clarion at that time were like $60. And they were gross. No offense to whoever owned the Clarion at that point, but we were renting. I remember driving from Niles to Ann Arbor, which is a 3-hour trip, just to see a panel of like 5 people talk about how to make Rick Simpson oil, or how to blow butane. Ew. But yeah, that's what we were doing back then. And also I would go to like dispensaries in Ann Arbor, and they would have hand rolled joints that somebody like rolled and licked with their tongue, and they would sell it, and I would buy it because I thought it was a good deal. So it was a crazy time, and it's been a long time. You know, we've been doing this for, a very long time. I mean, I've had my card at least, oh my God, you guys.
I know. Don't count.
Oh my God. I've been doing this for 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
This is April now. So this would be my 11th year of being a medical marijuana patient. And we used to have to like renew every time. And you guys remember that first time that we did it and we didn't get our cards for like 11 months? I never got mine until after I renewed a second time because I was a minor. And they were like red and thick.
They said your paperwork could substitute. So most of us had like this package of paperwork somewhere, either in our glove
And then
box.
some places wouldn't take the paperwork.
Exactly. So, you know, we were always in a catch.
That Bill Schuette didn't make sure that program was implemented, you know, clearly and strongly, and everybody get their card back.
It's almost he didn't believe in the will of the people, maybe. I don't know.
Oh my God, Bill, cheese and cheese. Do you guys remember that fuck you, Bill Schuette thing, you know, flew over the Capitol? What did it say?
It says, why do you hate patients?
Bill Schuette, why do you hate patients?
That's what I just said, right?
Yeah, fuck you, Bill.
Fuck you, Bill Schuette. Remember that? That was the idea. That was the sentiment for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
even Big Daddy was a little bit more classy than just to go right for that.
Yeah. I will say that we've had some great moments in cannabis activism, but all of the yucks and chuckles that we're going through now, we were all working on behalf of the patients and the sick people, trying to get things done, just having a good time doing it. So, I mean, we laugh and we have fond memories, but never misunderstand. There was a lot of sweat, equity, and tears and struggles, and we lost some people along the way. So it's been a hard road getting where we're at.
True, you know, and I hope that there's somebody from Monroe that can like contest to this. But one time when I was going through Monroe, I stopped at this dispensary that was attached to a antique shop, and I bought like 1.5 ounces of weed, and they made me go out with a lamp. So I actually bought a lamp for an outrageous amount of money, like $500. And the weed was free. And so I got out there, and I also called some like delivery guy, because at the time we thought that if you were a caregiver and there was a legal patient, you could just do a transfer for no money. But they, you know, and I got even better weed for like $100 an ounce, and I went to Cedar Point with like 4 ounces, and I had like the best time of my life. But anyways, I'm trying to find the guy that owns the antique shop so that we can talk about how ridiculous that was. Like, we also had people selling jars. Do you remember that? It's $200 for the jar, but the weed
cannabis is free.
Like, who thinks a prosecutor would be like, oh yeah, that's right.
The pack of papers is $50, and I'm just going to give you an eighth for it. You know?
Well, the used bookstore scheme that they had in West Michigan just recently. I mean, that's just like a 2019, 2020 thing.
Adam wants to remind people that Weed Maps called the Hash Bash Cup like one of the best parties, one of the best cannabis parties they've ever seen, or something to that effect.
Well, I would have to agree with Weed Maps
on
that
one. Well, that's pretty unique, yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And Danny Danko's been all over the place, was there. It was like, hey, this is awesome, you know.
I'm telling you.
That's the common reaction.
Yeah. And he's right there. I'm sorry, Colin, go ahead, please.
I said mesmerized. Just like when you walk in, it's like, wow, this is happening.
Well, and you know, Danko mentioned it earlier. Some of the events that we go to are so impersonal. They're business centric, so people are sort of supposed to keep distance, I guess, and keep a professionalism. But when you go to the Cannabis Cup, it's community based. It's not a corporate base. So people congregate out of purpose and intent, not just because, you know, there's not much space, and that the rooms always sell out because people know exactly how fun it is to be there. It's pretty great. I remember one
The
year
hotels around sell out.
one year there was absolutely no parking in the parking lot. They had guys out there said, nope, no, don't even try. No parking spaces. Go down here and walk across. There was such a huge response to that they had to have off-site parking. That's a successful event. I don't care what city you're at, and I don't care what the subject matter is. That's a hugely successful event.
You gonna go next year, Josey?
Oh yeah. If it's, you know, if COVID is, the numbers are down
Well,
and whatnot.
provided that's possible, right? To gather in thousands.
I'm really excited. You know, I haven't missed a hash bash since 2010. So there's people that will tell you, "Oh, I haven't missed a hash bash since 1982." And when they're talking about that, they're also including these times in the 90s when it was violent and it was terrifying and it was not a fun, let's smoke a joint in a circle thing. It was really scary. And the people that attended that can tell stories that, you know, it's a fun protest today, but it wasn't always like that. And of course, we all have our favorite things that are at Hash Bash that I think still went there, like the guy with the violin and the wolf mask that attends a lot of Ann Arbor events. Jimmy John still gave out free sandwiches like they have every year, which is super cool. And I think that when we're talking to people who are from Ann Arbor and they talk about really the impact that Hash Bash has on their economy and really also on their traffic situation, I mean, they probably complain about that more than the positives of it. But I think
they deal with that kind of stuff though because of the football games and shit like that. Yeah. So
Michigan Ohio State game's a lot bigger, probably.
Oh, I have to believe that.
Of a mess.
Yeah. Or if they happen to host any of the Final
But
Four.
I think you're right, Josey, though, point taken, and Adam talks about that a lot too, is that they combine, and Adam talks about how some people come into town and never really even make it to the real Hash Bash, or they might float through Monroe Street Fair a little bit or something like that, but basically they come into town and just believe they took part in it somehow.
They believe that their experience is Hash Bash because, you know, Hash Bash may be an event, but it's also an attitude. You know what? That's a T-shirt right there. Hash Bash is an attitude. Yeah.
You know,
maybe Heather's listening again, and suddenly the design will show up.
I did text her already. I got a text about it. Becky sent it to me, and I was like, on it. I'm super excited. We do need some help. We are really in the beginning stages of a lot of things. What used to be just a team, maybe a passion project between Redemption Cannabis and Sons and Daughters United is now a full-fledged network. So we're doing all of those things, and we're looking for people to do it with.
So we're in the last few minutes here. Well, how can people get a hold of you, Joes, if they want to, in order to support you in all the different things you do?
Yeah, please just get a hold of us on Facebook, donate through Facebook, do whatever you can to reach out to us at sonsanddaughtersunited.org. Please let us expunge your records, your friends' records, your grandma's records, or grandpa's records from 1964. Like, let's do it. If you don't think it's expungible, if somebody told you last year that you couldn't get it expunged, it doesn't mean it's not that way this year. Also, please, I mean, one more shameless note that we need partners in this, and by partners I'm talking cannabis companies, criminal defense attorneys, but also just people that want to throw in 5, 10, whatever they can. The Great Lakes Expungement Network is really just a coalition of community-based or community-oriented people and organizations that want to give a second chance. Reach out to Jamie or myself. Thank you guys so much for having me on the show.
Joes, thanks for coming back too.
Yeah, we'll do it again too. We'll get for sure, and we'll get an update on after some stuff gets underway on how that's all working out. Yeah. And again, stop in. Good thing to do. Come see us the day that we're broadcasting in Lansing next week, 1 week from today, and make some purchases and choose to have your change, your rounded up change, go to benefit this cause. The botanical company is already starting to do that, but April 11th is the day that the laws go into effect, and then shortly thereafter we'll be able to present like the new look of the Glen and its little logo and icon and stuff like that.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks, Joes.
Thank you, guys.
Well, Colin, you are the sole survivor. You're the only regular that actually managed to stay on it. What do you got to say, big guy?
I was gonna say this coming Thursday at 6 p.m. Decriminalize Nature Michigan is having a community meeting. So get on that. Check out our website. Check out the Entheo show. Rick and Jamie were actually the hosts, or not the host, the guests the other day of the Entheo show, and we talked about that hash bash along with Nick Sattel and Mark Passerini and Dawn Schultz as well. And yeah, check out the digital hash bash if you haven't already. And yeah, next week on the Entheo show we have Ali Savat, so it's gonna be a good one.
Tell the listeners who that is.
That's the Washtenaw County prosecutor, and so we'll be talking about how the law and his new progressive plant policies are going, and see what's going on. Check in with him there.
And he also said that he declines to prosecute mushrooms and other entheogens.
Yeah.
In the entire county of Washtenaw, even though Ann Arbor itself is the only city that declared decriminalization status. That's pretty awesome. Good job.
Yeah, and so he was on the show before.
And he was on this show.
Interviewed him before. Yep, and we're going to talk more about the very thing that Rick just brought up. I've been contacted by some people in Ann Arbor who want to come on and talk about that. You remember that MLive article where they had the sign out that said like delivery mushrooms or something like to that effect? We're going to hear directly from those people, if I'm not mistaken. So looking forward.
Oh, cool.
And I hope they've talked to their lawyer about that.
They seem pretty comfortable with wanting to talk about it. So we'll see what happens.
Cool.
Let's roll the dice with our life. Okay. No, fact is, we do a lot of different broadcasts around here. I've got 420 Post going tomorrow. Of course, we do Medical Mondays, which is at 9 o'clock on Mondays. Jamie and I were just on last night with Mr. Hashbash, Adam Brooken, and also D-Mac, Darren McCarty, who
so that was a particularly good Medical Mondays last night. I mean,
that was fun.
Colin, you would have had a blast.
Yep. Whenever you get Darren for the entire time, Darren's a very entertaining, but also incredibly insightful. And his ideas about how he wants to run his life and how he wants to control the people that he does business with, they're really good. They're human focused as opposed to resource focused. Yeah. And oftentimes people are like, who brings the most money to the game? That's who I want to partner with. And Darren's like, nah, it's about your character. It's about, whether I can trust you. Those are good lessons.
Yeah, it seems to have found a kind of a system that is based on that very thing, right?
Yeah, yep. Plus, of course, he's doing all kinds of dynamic stuff with radio down in Detroit and doing a regular broadcast, sports related. Plus, he's got the wrestling show. There's so a lot. Darren McCarty's got so many things going on. Plus, the comedy tour. So he's always entertaining. Jamie, what about you? What's your wrapping it up thought for her?
I want to, mention that there are people supporting us on the show to keep doing what we're doing and to improve our game a little bit, and that's all being worked on. And we've formed an actual media company, and people are starting to support us with funds and give us their logos. And we're actually doing the sponsorship thing, and when that'll kick off officially, probably early next month. But I want to start appreciating those people who have been around for a while waiting to be able to do this, which is really nice in and of itself, and understand that they're doing this in part to help us kind of grow and to improve a notch and keep doing what we're doing just a little bit better than we are. And for sure, the Botanical Company, and again, we're going to be there next week also with Franklin Fields. and Grow Green, Michigan. It's going to be cool to put together a little tent and kind of demonstrate the process of growing and stuff like that as part of this show, and do because we want to talk a little bit more about home grows and what's going on, even on a bigger level at times too. But we've had Mike Fisher on a few times, and those have been some interesting conversations that we've gotten into about cultivation and stuff. Do you remember him, Rick?
Of course, yes.
Okay, all right. I thought you looked inquisitively when I said that. And Real Leaf Solutions, and Tom Beller and Krista Beller. Redemption, of course, we can't say enough, about Ryan and Redemption Canna and the foundation. Detroit Nutrient Company. Tommy has been he's even been getting a hold of me and saying, hey, when can we do this? What's going on? And was so good about returning all the information and stuff when I sent out that, hey, we're finally ready to go and, start doing this. So we're going to get their logos up. We're going to, start getting a little bit, better about demonstrating who they are and what they're about. Plus a lot of the organizations that we support and who support us, we want to let people know about, and all the other great shows that we keep on talking about too. We want to continuously let people know about those as well, who are all in the family here in Michigan, and other ones, that might be of note. So that's going to go down. And then when some of that stuff comes together, then, there'll be more coming on board too, besides those, but just really, really appreciate the fact that people want to help us and support us. And I think it will be cool to have a little bit better production quality and a few more bells and whistles and an intro that actually works by itself and has sound and, some luxuries like that. And we are going to be broadcast live on other, several platforms at once. And the future holds some changes for us. Nothing, we're going to keep the nature of the show, but we're just going to, upgrade its presentation a little bit. And that's because we're getting a lot of help and encouragement to do that. So thanks to all those people I mentioned.
It's great to hear.
Good.
Yeah. And
all right. Yeah, Jamie.
Hey, it's 6 o'clock, so that's it.
Ready to
Josey, thanks for coming back on. That was really cool. Thanks for sticking around, Colin, and happy that everybody came in and out when they could. Another good show. And I just want to mention, I meant to say this earlier, that Leonard Peltier show still sticks with me a little bit. I mean, go back and check that out if you didn't yet. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. Jazz Cabbage Cafe. Be back next week. Moving forward.
Thank you.
See you guys. Bye.